Hi, welcome. This is your first time here. Welcome. We don't usually go live, but it's something new we're doing. So today's live um is about spiritual acceleration. Make sure my mic is on. Okay, yeah. Spiritual acceleration, right? Because we're all in this thing evolving, spiritually growing, growth, right? And so recently I did a video and it was about karmic relationships, and how they can assist us in evolving, accelerating spiritually. Now, I want to preference this live, and I guess I should have waited for some people to get in here, but not necessarily. We're just going to go with it because I don't plan on being on here too long. But I do want to talk to anyone that joins the live. We're going to talk about um, how you evolved from your karmic relationships. What lessons you learned from them? Did you grow from them? Did you just end it? Let's just open it all up for a discussion, okay? And I do want to say, to preference as a pre-reference for this live, that your experience is your experience. There's no right or wrong. We all came here, and it's just about sharing so that others can grow and evolve. Maybe take something from your experience, right? And so it's a judgment-free zone, is what I want to say about this live, okay? Um, there was something else I wanted to get into. Yeah, just whatever it is whatever it is, okay? So let's talk about it. Karmic relationships. Some of you, I get why there's an essence of wanting to, or even having to, end certain relationships. Like you don't um, try to mend it or even stay connected in any way, shape, or form. Because if you were dealing with a narcissist, as that term is commonly used, then I get where you would have to dead certain situations. But what I want to get into is the opposite end of the spectrum more so. Um, are there any relationships you had that you saw where it started out as a karmic? Because, as I said in the video, whether we all want to admit it or not, at some point in time, you have either been a karmic to someone else, which means you learned a lesson, you helped them evolve spiritually as a soul, or you've dealt with that type of relationship. Okay. And so so in saying that, we've all either been in at least one and or have experienced it. So what did you take from the experiences? How were you able to alchemize it? How did you find the value, the gold in taking something that was meant to keep your soul at a basic base level? Not that it was necessarily meant to, but if you had stayed in that cycle, then you would have been repeating those cycles and possibly not growing. But as your soul being as wise as it is, you chose that predicament, that situation, that circumstance to assist you in evolving. So, how were you able to alchemize it and then appreciate the soul and the lessons that came from it? That's what we want to get in here today. Not pulling any cards or anything of that sort, just wanting to open the lines of communication. Now, this is one of the first types of opening of these discussions that is being had. It's also opening up towards this channel, moving towards the podcast. So this will be under the playlist for podcast. But yeah, If you're catching this on a replay, this is what this is about. And we'll continue to have these types of live streams in opening up, in exploring certain topics, and helping the collective, each other, grow, evolve, and expand our consciousness, bringing it into balance with our subconscious. That's the goal for these lives, for this podcast. Okay. So let me get into it. Let's find out. Oh, okay, cool. Let's find out. When we speak of karmic, we usually think of it, as I said, in a very negative aspect. And for no other reason in the fact that it's a tough situation. It's a tough experience. It's not called karmic for any other reason. And you can think of it as cause and effect also. Like, because of the situation, the cause of what you're going through, the effect, depending on how you used it, is your soul elevating and or repeating a cycle. So how do we resolve karmic debts, karmic, and move into a space of healing it? Because I hear this term a lot, the karmic, the karmic, the karmic, you know? So every action, right, has an opposite or equal reaction. How were you able to take those actions of, once you recognize that, whoa, this isn't healthy for me, this is a karmic situation? How were you able to then take that, taking ownerships of your behaviors and recognizing the behaviors of another? How did you choose to change the cycle, to end it altogether? This is what I want to get into. Because one thing I've figured out is, like, when it comes to karmic patterns, karmic relationships, karmic cycles, they can repeat. So at some point in time, if you're repeating them, you may notice a pattern. How do you break those patterns? How do you not take, or it is important to not take those patterns and continue them into the next relationships? Because it's not easy. It's not easy. If it were, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion. So, one, how do you take something you recognize that you possibly yourself, like let's say, I want to give some examples. Let me see. Since no one is yet in the live yet. Okay. When you recognize that, because as it stated, a karmic relationship can tend to bring out the worst attributes in you. When you recognize that you're in something with someone, whether it's romantic, a romantic partner, or whether it's a parent, a sibling, a colleague, once you recognize that, okay, wait, this is showing me something. What am I learning from this? How were you able to, I guess where I want to say is, if it's bringing out the worst attributes in you, then some of the steps that need to be taken are to recognize, what is it that it's bringing out? What are these attributes that it's bringing out? For some, it could be like showing you some areas where you're not healed, where you probably thought you were, but until you got into a relationship or you became a parent yourself, you realized that certain cycles were repeating themselves. Sometimes it's just issues that were unresolved. because you tend to maybe just close the door, leave, and not really explore on a deeper dive the shadow aspects that are arising from certain things. I'm trying to think of a scenario where I can share with you. Because all in all, once the patterns, whether it's unresolved issues, whether it's childhood trauma, the spiritual acceleration comes from actually recognizing those patterns, those unhealed parts, and then taking the deeper dive into exploring those things. I'm just checking to see if there's anyone on the live. Nope. No. Okay. A part of the process, if it's going to become a tool to help your soul evolve, is recognizing those patterns, right? And then taking the opportunity to look at, why does it make you, let's say, angry in certain situations? Like, some people know how to tap your buttons and bring out this anger in you. For others of you, it just might be something that happened in your childhood and then you didn't recognize to when you got older. But it's doing that inner child healing that allows that acceleration of spiritual growth to happen. I want to talk about the healing process and what happens when it comes to the healing, because it's not always easy. But one of the first steps is the recognizing, becoming aware. Awareness is one of the major keys to any scenario. If you're not recognizing that something is a pattern, or that it's triggering you, or that there's an area that needs to be healed, if you don't see it as an issue, then you won't even attempt to heal it. So that's one of the first steps, would be to just um, become aware, recognizing that something is off, that you don't like this feeling, or that this is a pattern that's persisting. And then another tool for the healing process of this, since no one is in the live right now, we're just going to get into the healing aspects of it. After you recognize that there's something going on, that there's a repeating cycle, that there's something that feels unhealthy to you, first step is becoming aware. After you're aware of it, the next step is to figure out how you want to see. So, like, setting the intentions. Setting the intentions for how you would like to see yourself grow through this. Asking, even if you need to sit in meditation, asking your spirit guides, asking the Most High, going within. It's about the going within. That's the part of setting intention. So it's going within for self. Going within and sitting with self and figuring out why certain things trigger you, or why certain cycles are repeating, why certain patterns are persisting, right? And that may, it's not, it may be a quick process for some, but not always. But the fact that you've become aware of these patterns, of these unresolved issues, of these triggers, you've taken the first step. So after becoming aware and then going within, sitting with self, taking time in meditation, taking time to reflect on what could possibly be the root of these triggers, because you want to get to the root of why certain things are happening instead of glossing it over and slapping a band-aid on it and then just going with it. You want to get to the root cause of it. And that happens by getting quiet with self, with going within, with doing meditation. And it may not come up as easily right off the bat. Like it may not be the easiest to process. But as you explore and go deeper dive, as you implement more time with self and finding the root cause of things, that's where that spiritual um, elevation and acceleration happens. Because you're taking time going in with self, but I want to, you're taking control of the situation and the trauma. And you're not letting the situation control you anymore. You're taking control. You're not being controlled by the situation because you've recognized, become aware of it, and then you're setting the intention to find the root cause of it. And then you're recognizing as you're going within, it'll show you the subconscious patterns that have been set, the subconscious programming. One of the tools I'm going to say as you're going within that could assist you with this is getting into an alpha state of meditation. If you're not sure what alpha brainwave frequency is, it's that, okay, so whenever you're awake in your day-to-day life, you're in beta, you're in go mode, your eyes are open, you're at a beta brainwave frequency. And so your mind is not able to really, it's just in go. It's just in go. And your subconscious mind, it moves without your permission. So like it doesn't know if you're consciously saying a joke, if you're speaking to yourself a certain way, if you're repeating certain patterns, then your subconscious mind is picking that up, and then that's what it's going to produce for you in your reality. By you going within and then getting into this alpha brainwave frequency, this is where you can now take control and reprogram, recode your subconscious mind. Now, whenever you get into meditation, you get quiet, you get with self, that's you embarking on the alpha brainwave frequency. One of the keys to that is to close your eyes, to shut out the day to day. When your conscious mind gets a chance to get into the alpha brainwave frequency, that's when you setting these intentions can actually assist you in taking control, getting to the root cause of these subconscious programs. Because for a lot of us, especially if your soul came into this wanting to experience this lesson, then it is somewhat of a subconscious program. It's already happening in the background. And that's why it takes you becoming aware of certain patterns, certain things, certain karmic relationships in order to reprogram your subconscious, to allow your soul to accelerate, to evolve from these lessons. Okay. And so with the alpha brainwave frequency, It does happen in meditation, and it is vital that you do close your eyes and get into that state. Another key that I like to use, you can take the tool and use it or not, is when your eyes are closed. There's something that happens as your eyes roll back. So, like, you look upward, what is it, like about 20 degrees, or you can focus kind of on your third eye, first eye area, right? And you just get quiet. For some of you, you can set the intention before you go into meditation to ask your spirit guides, to ask your ancestors to assist you. So you speak the trauma, the trigger, the karmic thing that's bothering you out loud, right? And you set the intention to reflect and go within to get to the root cause of it. Some of you, when you do this, you'll hear certain things. You may come out of your meditation when you're in alpha state, and you may receive a word through music or something of this sort. Since no one is necessarily, let me check to be sure, on the live, I want to go into the aspects of tools that I use to heal certain, as healing tools, as healing aspects. Something you could use if you find yourself that you're repeating certain cycles, if you find yourself in certain karmic cycles. And I'm not going to say this is working for everyone. It's a tool. Maybe it'll assist you. And I'm not going to say that this is easy. Karmic lessons, for some of you, especially who have, how should I say, taken the role of spiritual warriors, you have a higher calling, your soul is possibly taking on some of the heavier karmic lessons, I'll say, but in an essence, in finding the value in it so that you could elevate. Okay, so back to getting into an alpha brainwave frequency. When you're in this state of mind, and after you've set these intentions, this is where you take that deeper dive. You go within and you allow whatever arises to arise. And then you're able to ask for guidance as to how you can resolve any past patterns. You may get it while you're in the meditation for some of you, but if not, then you can seek guidance. And the guidance can be through an actual therapist, through therapy for some of you. But for some of you, being spiritual beings, you may receive it directly from your spirit guides, from your ancestors. But this is where the resolution of these certain cycles, certain patterns can come forth. Because no matter what, as a soul, I want you to know that you're not alone in this process. So you can always ask for guidance, especially if it's something that's been particularly difficult for you. Um, Let me see what else. Asking for the guidance, asking for the strength, and how you can proceed in a healthier way is a part of these healing aspects. And I find that being in a meditative state, being in alpha brainwave frequency assists me personally in this process. Um, what else did I want to tell you about alpha frequencies, brainwave frequencies? There was something. Give me a second. Okay, so once you recognize that certain things are a trauma, there's recurring patterns. When you're in the alpha brainwave frequency, it induces this feeling of calm. It increases your ability to absorb the information that will be coming forth from you to you while you're in the meditation. Like if your ancestors, if your spirit guides are trying to give you a message, by you coming out of the beta brainwave frequency where you're awake, where your eyes are open, and moving into the next level of an alpha brainwave frequency, it allows you to absorb this information that's coming in. It can help you to resolve these problems because you're in a calm state of mind. So the guidance is easier to come forth. And the reprogramming of the subconscious mind is also more easier because you'll be able to see, feel those patterns because you're not at beta frequency. And there's also theta, but that's about when you're sleeping. So you can set these intentions before you're about to go to sleep. Also, yeah. Um, so the healing aspects. Let's go over it because I'm gonna end this soon. We're only about 30 minutes in. Again, we're discussing finding that there are certain cycles that you're not thrilled about repeating. These cycles could be traumatic, they could be from a romantic standpoint, they could be from a parental standpoint, it could be with siblings, it could be with colleagues, coworkers, it could be just something in you're not comfortable with within self. Let's say whatever the pattern is, right? And so a part of the healing aspects of that, if you find yourself with certain cycles repeating, if you find yourself in karmic cycles, if you even find yourself because experiencing attributes that are just not satisfactory to you within self and you want to change certain aspects, part of the healing process, healing steps, program you can take are to first become aware that there is something, aware that either this is karmic or that these patterns are repeating or that you're embarking on actions, endeavors that you just are not sitting well with you, that you want to transcend the norm, the status quo, and elevate in whatever way, shape, or form, mentally, physically. For some of you, maybe you're repeating certain cycles of eating for some. I'm throwing all of this in because as we get into these healing aspects, it can be used for any of that. But specifically, we started talking about karmics and karmic cycles. So, either way, once we recognize that there are certain patterns, that there are certain lessons or certain unresolved things that you want to not do and you want to spark healing coming from that, you want to take ownership of certain aspects of your life, right? And so that's where we would get into and implement certain techniques. A part of the techniques that I'm emphasizing today is the alpha brainwave frequency. First is to become aware, to recognize that these patterns, these cycles, these traumatic things, these karmic incidences are happening. After the awareness is there, then setting the intention to heal, the intention to take a deeper dive and look at this situation, this circumstance, to get to the root cause of it. Because you can glaze over something and put a band aid on it, or you can pluck it up from the root, take a good look at it, and then find healthier ways to go about it. With this state right here, this is where you're recognizing that these subconscious patterns are happening. And the subconscious mind knows no, it runs like a computer program. So whatever you've put in is what's coming out. Some of these things have been put in since you were a child, through society, through parental figures, through school, through friends, through life, right? And so it's setting the attention to take a look at what's going on in the subconscious mind, becoming aware that there even is anything there, and then going within. And this is where the reflection and reflecting on this happens. This is where finding the root cause happens. And this is where you want to take this phase and implement getting into the alpha brainwave frequency through meditation. For some of you, for most of you, getting into the alpha brainwave frequency is a type of meditation. So once you close your eyes and you just start to focus on the problem, well, I don't want to say even focus on the problem, focus on getting into that frequency of being calm, of taking a moment to explore your inner world and what's going on. Sometimes you have to shut out the outside world, the music, the noise, the people. And a part of the alpha brainwave frequency is the breathing deep and closing your eyes. You can lie down and do this. You could sit up in a comfortable seating position. But as you're entering into this alpha brainwave frequency and going within and reflecting, this is where you can now explore any issues, any problems that may be coming up. This is where you can focus now. One moment. This is where you're in that relaxed, eyes closed, meditative state, and you can set these intentions. So, as you're in this state, the intentions that you set to heal this aspect, to go within, to reflect, to find the root cause of it, it makes it more easier because you're brainwave frequency, it's between 7 and 12 hertz. This is that state where you can now take control of what's happening in the subconscious mind of these situations and these traumas instead of letting them go on autopilot and control you. So, after this, this brainwave frequency can also help you reduce things like depression, things like feeling anxious. It induces that calm, that state of calmness, right? And so this is where you can now receive the guidance, the resolution, and strengthen your connection between your subconscious and your conscious mind, because you can bridge that gap where your subconscious is just going on autopilot. You can consciously decide that you're going to go into this meditative state, you're going to set the intentions to pull forth the guidance and the healing, and then that allows you to resolve these traumas, these cycles, these patterns, the trauma. Okay. And so let me see. Yep, nobody's on the line. That's okay. Let me make sure. I don't know if I'm even doing this right, but I hope I am. I don't see anything, but yeah. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to wrap it up. Um, this is how I'm going to wrap it up. No matter who we are, how spiritually elevated you are, we've all either been a karmic to someone, meaning we came to help some learn lessons, evolve, elevate spiritually, and or you have experienced these lessons or karmic relationships. Karmic relationships could be mother, father, caregiver, friend, colleague, lover, husband, wife, nieces, nephews, family. And if you can break certain cycles, alchemize it, transcend, transform it, find the value in these lessons as a soul here and what it came to teach you to elevate, then that's where the spiritual acceleration comes from. And part of the healing tools, aspects that could assist you in achieving this spiritual acceleration is becoming aware and recognizing that these cycles, these relationships, these patterns are even happening. After you becoming aware, it's setting the intention using the alpha brainwave frequency. For me personally, these are just my techniques. I'm no therapist, but they work for me. So it could possibly assist you, and that's all this life is about. So when you're setting these intentions and you're going within, you're reflecting, you're finding the root cause of certain things. Why do you get triggered by certain things? Why do you behave in certain ways? Why do certain relationships tend to seem to repeat? Different person, different body, but same kind of patterns, cycles, issues that arise with that person. Then 3 would be taking control by using the alpha brainwave frequency and seeking the guidance to take control of the trauma, the situation, the circumstances, and then allowing the guidance and implementing the guidance that you receive. Finding your inner strength to help you process it in a healthier way. Okay. Those are the four healing aspects. When you find that any karmic, any unhealthy pattern, any unresolved issues are arising, and then to ask yourself, what is it you're learning from this? What did it come to teach you? Because that's a question when you propose, when you give your subconscious mind certain questions, it then becomes the prover mind and it wants to prove certain things to you. So as you ask it, why, what am I learning from this? That's a part of the guidance. What am I learning? Why am I having this experience? What is it here to teach me? How can I grow from this experience? As you're seeking this guidance, this is some of the questions you can ask to assist you in this. Maybe even ask your subconscious mind, can I grow through this relationship? How am I growing through this relationship? Can this relationship that started out as karmic evolve into a healthier state? These are just some of the questions. And then I want to say this was the first of many of this type of sessions. I look forward to you joining me in the next one. This was new for me. We're live, and this is how I'm going to host this segment unless I come across a better way of doing it. But you're here with Tone Star Enterprises, and this is a part of us growing, evolving spiritually, mentally, physically, so that we all have healthier mind, bodies, and allowing our soul to elevate. Um, Join me, not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, which is, let me check my calendar and be sure. Will be the 19th at 7 p.m. And we'll find out what that topic will be then. Maybe I'll have a video up to tell you. But if you're catching this after the live, leave it in the comments. Tell me about your situation, your karmic patterns, your unresolved issues, and then tell me how you elevated, how you found the value in that. I would like to thank you for joining me, Tone Star, here for our live podcast. I'm not sure even what to call it, but thank you for joining me, Tone Star. Now, how do I end it here? Okay. Okay, you did it.